This is my daughter Shelby, and she was born nearly 3 years ago with Down syndrome. She was born without any complications, no heart problems, no physical problems that we could worry about. She was. Can't you read the book? The initial shock of having her was obviously quite a shock, and it was quite nasty to come to terms with. But once we got to terms with her, her being there, we loved her absolutely. More than anyone can say how you can love a child so much. It's just brilliant, and I sort of struggled along for about 7 months, 8 months on my own, and then I phoned the Down Syndrome Association and asked for if there was a support group anywhere near Derby, so that I could go to the support group to meet some other people that might a baby. That's right. Other people that might have babies and children of the same age as Shelby. I was then referred to Portage when Shelby was just over a year old. Lisa, the Portage worker, she explained to me, it's a baby with a basket and a teddy bear.
Mom.
What is it? A baby. Look, does it look like Gabby? Gabby. Good girl, good talking. There's a ball there as well, look. What's that? It's a ball. Good girl. Good girl. Ball. Ball. And Lisa phoned me and discussed with me whether I would like to have Portage, and told me what my options were. I was initially quite worried as to whether I'd be able to fit Portage in with our lifestyle, because I'd also just since found out that I was pregnant with my 5th child, so I was thinking I wasn't going to manage it with all the appointments I had to attend to anyway. And we then had a discussion with Lisa, and Lisa came round and visited me to explain all the full details about Portage and what I was going to be doing and what it was going to involve, and also explained to me that I didn't have to be rigorous with what I did with Shelby. It wasn't going to be homework setting where I had to do this activity with her at that time and it needed to be done by the following week or anything like that. It was just, here's your activity. When you get 3 minutes, play with her. If you don't get time to do it, then it's not a problem. Shelby, we started off with learning to do pincer grips and using finger pointing, which was a complete novelty to me, because I completely forgot that the kids had to learn to know how to do those things. And then what we did was, if I didn't have time to do it, my children would come home from school and say to me, Mum, what was a new target? What was Shelby's target for today? And I'd say, well, it's this. Here's the activity page. Have a look and see what it is. And they would read it and run into the lounge and go and get the toy out and say, right, Shelby, sit down, let's play this game. And that would take the pressure off me, because I wouldn't have to worry about whether she needed, whether I had put in the time or not, so to speak. So they put in the time for me, so that was quite good. I palmed that one off quite nice and lightly. Lisa came once a week to visit me with Portage, and it would be for between an hour and an hour and a half long. Sometimes we would do a full hour and a half of just complete activities with Shelby, and other times we would have an hour's worth and then have a good natter about what was bothering me that day. And so it became sort of quite a good support for me as well as Shelby, knowing that I was having someone coming around every week to tell me what was next on the agenda for development. Shelby is now 2.5, and she's been going to playgroup preschool for a year now, and Portage now also visits her at playgroup. She has seen Portage there a couple of times. They go for 1 or 2 hours at a time, and they'll do they'll sort of set targets for Shelby at that playgroup session, and then tell me what targets they've set for home as well. So we've got different targets for the playgroup and different targets for home, and that's quite good, because it also takes the pressure off me a little bit, because then I've got the preschool working on her on one thing and I'm doing the other bits at home. Portage did that for the preschool, which we hadn't had. I don't think the preschool would have had that had they not had Portage not been involved. Portage has helped the family fantastic because the kids come home, like I said before, and they just want to play do the activities with Shelby and play the games with her, and they just bring her on quite fantastically, and it also gives them an insight into how she's learning and developing, because it makes them more aware that she's going to be a little bit slower than they are when it comes to, you know, developing and what activities they can do. We're already seeing that with my 1-year-old. He's, you know, almost crossing over as to what Shelby can do now already. And to be honest, Matthew, the younger one, he's been learning quite a lot through Portage as well, because, you know, he's been brought on and with whatever activity she's doing, he's obviously around and in the house. And his verbal skills are fantastic because we've been, you know, trying to bring Shelby's verbal skills on too. The input that Portage give me when it comes to how Shelby is developing really helps me a lot, because it just shows me that she's doing really well. Despite having the label Down syndrome, she's actually doing marvelously. And it makes me feel proud as a mom to know that she's doing so well, and we're getting on with everything. The Portage, we've done some joint visits just lately with learning to do read matching, the word matching, sorry, and the other little girl comes and sort of, they both feed off each other. When one's doing so well, the other one wants to try and get the same attention and praise that Shelby's got. So they feed off each other and help each other out a lot in that one. And it's definitely working quite well. I would suggest that it would be a good thing for people to think about if you know of anybody else who's having Portage at the same time of the same age. Would I recommend Portage? Most definitely. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend Portage, because the kids, well, Shelby has benefited greatly. I would not turn back the clock for 1 minute and say no, I wouldn't do it, because she's just come on in leaps and bounds. A year ago, she could sign one word. This year, in just a year's time, a year later, she's signing, you know, over 100 words, maybe 120 words. It's just, you know, beyond comprehension is how well she's doing. And everybody that sees her just comments every time she's had a good session of Portage, how much her development comes on so well. You know, I don't get into trouble for not doing these different lessons, you know, the different activities with her. I just, you know, if I can fit it in, I fit it in. If I can't, I can't. It's not a big issue. You know, fitting it in with my lifestyle is what we do. It's whether I'm free. If I'm free that week, then great. If I'm not, then we'll just make it for the following week. It's not a problem. We just get on with it like that. And I actually enjoy knowing that Portage is coming now, because I can discuss all my worries, all my fears for Shelby at that point in time, and we can work through what we think the next step should be, and it's just been fantastic. For any parents thinking about going to Portage, I would say go for it. It's just fantastic.